Okay, but your weight is still coming here whether you lift your foot or not. Okay, even if I don't lift my foot, my weight's on this leg. So this is not important. Okay, the lift will help with extension. Okay? So the classical technique is to teach the lift. From here, the inertia phase, it starts to break. I shift to the opposite and I pull my hip. Okay? Once the hip initiates the pull, the trap is going to shrug. And that keeps the bell on that vertical plane. Again, the kettlebell has the center line. Right now the body's on the center line. So I have to move my body off the center line so that the kettlebell can maintain the chin. Okay? So that's the acceleration pull. While it's moving up, the third phase is to change my grip into the insertion, which is the same as the clean. So I move from the finger and I insert. So that's the third phase called the insertion. So I have inertia, acceleration, pull, insertion. The momentum is carrying it up into the top, which is called the fixation. Okay? This is the same as all the overhead lifts. And again, thumb back, elbow lock, bicep next to the ear. The fifth phase is called the amortization phase. This is when you reverse the movement. So the amortization phase is palm up, same as the clean. Again, I'm not flipping it over. I'm simply turning my palm up so it falls. At the same time, I shift to the opposite leg. Okay? And at the same time as I shift, I move my body back. It's called deflection, so I deflect my trunk. Okay? Various degrees. Some people will have a very extreme deflection, and some people will have a very subtle deflection, but it's always there. Okay? And again, the body's on the center line here, so I have to deflect back so the belt can fall straight down. Otherwise, it falls on top of me, or it has to come forward. I want the belt to fall down, which means my body has to move back. Okay? So from here, turn the palm up, shift, and the body moves back. I want to keep my trunk extended here as long as possible until the tricep contacts with the torso. So that now my arm and my body is connected, and then everything starts moving back. Just before your arm reaches hip level, you're going to change the grip. So I move from where it's sitting, and I pull the fingers back. Okay? And then it overturns into the backswing. Okay, so that's the 6 phases. Again, I have the inertia 1, acceleration pull 2, insertion of the hand 3, fixation 4, amortization phase is 5, and grip change into the backswing is 6. Okay? And then the breathing. There's going to be 4 breaths for every single rep. First breath is with the inertia phase. Okay? Second breath is acceleration, transition into insertion. So it's third breath is with the lockout. Fourth breath is with the backswing. Okay? So it's so putting it all together, see if you can see those 6 components during the movement. This is where you would recover during a longer set, and again, you can take additional breaths here. Okay? So those are the key points. I'll just point out some of the most common variations so that you can identify them when you see them, understand what they're for. All right? Basically, changing the angles is the most common. Various degree of rocking of the foot. Okay, some people will come up on both toes. Some people will also have this rocking. So those are subtle variations. Moving at a diagonal is another variation. So instead of coming straight up and down, be a diagonal. Okay? Another variation is to have a subtle knee bend. Okay? So those are the most common variations that you'll see. Also with the backswing, you may see this, or you may see the straightening of the legs. Okay? And another common variation. Okay, so from here, another common variation is going to be on the drop. You may see a more pronounced knee bend. So instead of just shifting and turning in the classical method, you'll see the dip here. That's to shorten the distance the bell has to fall. Okay? But none of the techniques by themselves are necessarily advantageous because there's always a trade-off. What makes one aspect easier is going to make a different aspect harder. So you need to be able to understand what's appropriate, and that has more to do with your natural strengths and tendencies than your body design. It doesn't mean that because one lifter does it and has good results that you should emulate that. For example, on the drop, instead of the bell dropping from here, if I bend, the bell drops from several inches lower. So that means by the time it gets to the bottom, it's going to slow down. So that's advantageous for sparing the grip since it's not falling as fast. However, it requires very strong triceps if you're using a heavier bell, okay, because you're under load longer. So the triceps have to be very strong to be able to decelerate the bell. So if you don't have very strong triceps, you'll end up fatiguing yourself much faster using that method. Okay? So we'll forget about the variations right now. If you see the dipping, you'll only usually see the dipping at the end of the set. Okay? It's when someone's very tired and they lose the pendulum, and it's maybe in the last minute, and the grip's about to go, and if you try to backswing it, it's going to fall out of your hand. So in that case, to get some last minute reps, okay, squeeze out a few extra reps, you may see dipping, which would be more like an Olympic snatch, since I don't really have any inertia left at that point. So that's what the dipping's for. But if you start dipping from the beginning, you're going to tire your legs that much faster. So you don't really want to dip. You only dip as a last. When everything else is spent, your legs still have energy to use your legs. Okay? So those are the 6 phases. Any questions on those before we start practicing? Okay, so what we want to do now is break the phases into individual components and practice each component. Okay? So the first phase is just a review of the swing.